Okay, so hopefully you've been working through the string one basic string problems, and I would like you to continue working and do your best to finish all of those. We're going to be looking at string two problems today. So we're going to do just a few of those, and we want to have all string one and string two done at some point. Okay, so when you be sure you log in. Now you'll notice that I'm actually not logged in. That's because I didn't want to bring up the answers I've already done. I wanted a clean slate, but you make sure you log in or you won't get any credit for doing it. All right, so we're going to go here to double char. Okay, now these early ones have hints. Okay, to help you get started. Okay, but we're going to go ahead and do this together. So the process is usually the same. Okay, so we're given a string and we're going to return a string where every character in the original, there are now two characters. So if it was the, it'll be TTHHEE. If it's AABA, it'll be AAAABBBB. Now, when you have to return a string, we can't change a string. Strings are immutable. So what we need to do is create a new string. Well, when I say you can't change a string, you can change a string if you assign it to back to itself. But we want to create a new string. So we're going to say string, and I usually just call it toReturn because it's the string that I'm going to return. There's another one is result, okay? But I'll just use toReturn because that's just kind of my style. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to an empty string by saying quote, quote. And I'm going to build this string. Now, if I was printing, this might be easier, or at least a little bit easier, because I wouldn't have to build a string. So I'm going to loop through the entire string. So for int I equals 0, I less than str.length. So with strings, you get the length, the number of letters in it by saying .length with parentheses. Now remember that whatever the length of the string is, the last letter's index is actually one less than that. So that's why I say I strictly less than string.length. Then I plus plus. And for every letter, I'm going to get the letter. So let's say string letter. So the way I get the ith letter of a word is I say str.substring I to I plus 1. That will, since I will start at 0, this will be the first pass through loop will be 0 to 1. And then it'll be, when I becomes 1, it'll be 1 to 2. And it'll continue the whole way. Then I'm going to take toReturn, and I'm going to add to it letter. So I'll say plus equals letter plus letter. So now I'm going to have two of the letters, and when I'm done, I'll simply return toReturn. And you can see that it works just fine. Okay, I think we're going to do another problem now. Okay, our next problem asks us to count the amount of instances of the word hi. So in order to do that, we need to make a variable to count with. So I will make an integer to count with. So I make an int variable, and I'll call it count, and I'll start it at 0. Once again, I'll be looping through the entire string, but I'll be doing something a little bit differently here. I'm going to say I less than str.length minus 1. So I do not want to loop through the entire length of the string because I'll be taking the letters 2 at a time. Last problem, we only took one letter at a time. So we had to loop through the entire string to make sure we got the last letter. But now we're going to be taking them 2 at a time. And because we're taking them 2 at a time, we need to stop one short. If we just use, for example, the word gorilla, if I'm going to check them 2 at a time for the words hi, G-O is not hi. Then it'll go O-R. OR is not high. Then it'll check RI, then IL, then LL, then LA. But that's where it would stop because we're doing less than the length minus 1. And so the last index is length minus 1. We're doing less than that. So we're going to go to, I could say less than or equal to length minus 2. I could do that. That's the same idea, okay? But stylistically, we usually do it this way. So, but if I kept going, I would try and go I and then get one more character, and that's a string index out of bounds exception. That's no good. So I will stop there. I'm going to say if str.substring, but I'm getting 2 letters. So it's not I to I plus 1, it's I to I plus 2. That's the substring. I want to know if it equals. Now we don't use equals for strings, we use dot equals. I want to know, does that equal hi? If it does, then count must increase by 1. When I'm done, I simply return the count. And as you can see, that works pretty well. All right, I think it would behoove us to do maybe one. Okay, for this problem, we are to return true. I'm going to be doing returning true if the cat and the dog count are the same. So I'm going to be counting 2 things here. So we need to do an int for dog count, int cat count. We're going to loop through the string, and luckily cat and dog are the same length. So we're going to say for int I equals 0, I less than str.length minus an amount. See if you can figure out how much. We're not taking them 1 character at a time. We're going to be taking them 3 characters at a time. So I have to do I minus 2. If you're taking them 1 character at a time, you go I less than string.length. 2 character at times, I minus 1. 3 characters at a time, I minus 2. All right. Then I will say if str.substring I to I plus 3 dot equals dog, then my dog count will increase. Else if str.substring I to I plus 3 dot equals cat count plus plus. After this loop is done, we should have a good count on both of them, but we want to return not the count, but whether they are equal. So there's lots of things I could do. I could say if dog count equals cat count, return true, else return false. I can do that, but there's a quicker way to do this. This will evaluate to true if they are equal. It will evaluate the false if they are not. I have the right to simply return what it evaluates. Since if it evaluates to true, I return true, and if it evaluates to false, I return false, I am simply going to say return dog count equals cat count. So let's talk about how to get better at coding. You get better at coding by doing these kind of exercises. And if you feel like you're stuck on one, then what I want you to do, you can always log out and it clears out your answers. Go back and do previous ones. Or go back and you can just delete them. Do it to, if you're spending 10 minutes trying to figure out how to do a problem, then go back later and see if you can do the same problem in 5. Give yourself time to forget how you did it. But what you're building this familiarity and you're building this idea of abstraction. that it doesn't matter if I'm counting a dog or a cat, that I know how to count the instances of a word. I know how to see if they happen an equal amount of times. And that's how you get better and how you get the ability to just see a problem and code it up. Once again, we got them all correct. Hurrah. Okay, so work on string 1 and string 2. When you get stuck on one, go back to the other one.